main purpose is one of my main goals is overcoming stereotypes.
I've worked in plenty places where I was the only black man present.
We give off sort of negative images of self, and so I work really tirelessly to show that there's a different side, a different image.
They said, JJ, he's one of the good ones.
I've participated in award ceremonies where I'm the only black student receiving an award, and this is me receiving awards for being the #1 student in my graduating class. No student was higher than me.
Oh, you think I'm good? Well, there's a lot more where I came from.
There's multiple ways of being. Black folks, it's not a single way of thinking, not a single way of being, a way of dressing, a way of acting.
What's up, world? I would like to welcome you to The Great Expression, Installment 2. And I'm your host, Westside JJ. Today, my co-host, Dre. A man of many names, but today we're going to call him Dre. He's part of the Westside Scholar Division. That's something I made up myself. Just go along with it. Just go along with it. That's just a division of smart people from the West Side, and he's one of them. Give the people a little bit more information on yourself for the people that don't know you.
Well, like I told you just a second ago, I'm primarily born and raised on the West Side. I got 15 different addresses on the West Side, spanning just pretty much every neighborhood that's over there. That's where my family's from. So, you know, I don't know, as I've told people before, you know, I'm a crack baby that grew through the concrete. So, you know, so I'm from that era. Born at the tail end of the 80s, but, you know, came up, shout out to my, you know, to my grandmother, my aunties and stuff like that, you know, who held me down and stuff when other people wasn't around. And yeah, you know, at some point in time, I just decided that, you know, that I wanted to go get me an education. So I wanted to be part of that scholars division.
Right.
So, you know, so that's where I am now.
Facts. How far did you go in your education?
So I'm finishing up my second master's degree right now, but I have, this will be my 5th degree in total. An associate's degree, 2 bachelor's degrees, 1 completed master's, and I'm finishing my second master right now.
Okay. We got an educator brother. Like I said, part of the West Side Scholar Division. And I want to tell a story. I don't think I told you the story of how I first encountered you.
Yeah, you never.
And I'm not even 100% sure it was you, but the year was 2007, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're on Poppy and Grove. My boy over there I went to elementary with, Robert Jenkins.
Yep.
He used to come by the hangout spot sometimes. You know, we know a lot of the same people, and we'll play Madden. And he's like, man, I know some people who play Madden. You need to come by the spot and play some of my homeboys in Madden, right? So I think when I went there to this particular house, I played him first, knocked him out the water. And then I played another person who I believe was you. Did you have long hair at the time?
Oh, see, that was my brother you played.
Okay,
that was my older brother. Yep.
Okay, so, well, your older brother, the person who I thought was you, we gambling, we playing for $5. The first drive, I go and score a touchdown. The second drive, he throws an interception on his side of the field. So I'm already in the red zone. He just grabbed his $5 and just walked off. So when I got a chance to meet you, and then I remember you telling a story on your live about your past on Poppy and Grove, I was like, that's dude who I was playing Madden, who took his $5 and ran off. So speaking of your lives and your Facebook lives, what are some of the things that you like to talk about on the internet, things that you advocate?
Yeah, so I mean, majority of what I've talked about has been stuff in the political realm. So like politics, economics, law, those are some topics. I'm into history as well, so usually my back and forth about that stuff. Also like pop culture stuff, you know, so like we talk about rap and hip hop. As you know, you and I, we went back and forth about, you know, just different rap stuff. Because you was capping for Kendrick, but
no,
yeah.
we'll get into that.
Okay, yeah, because but pop culture stuff really, and even in those focuses and stuff, I try to focus on the stuff that most interests my people. I feel like that's where my field is. That's where the harvest is for me, and so those are the people I try to speak to.
And have you gained any ground while doing that?
Oh yeah, man. I like over the years, man. I don't know. I've had a number of just different viral posts, stuff like that. I've amassed a pretty good following. I have a couple personal Facebook pages. I have a couple political pages, and we do some international stuff here, the UK. So yeah, you know, I've amassed a pretty good following doing that kind of stuff. So you know, I've taken even with the stuff outside of stuff I do on Facebook. I've presented original research at universities. You know what I'm saying? Stuff that I worked on myself, all me, and I've got to present that to subject matter experts. To rooms. It was standing room only in the little room we was in. So,
okay, so your experience. So basically, this isn't new to you.
No, it's not.
You're a veteran in this space.
I try. I think so.
That's dope. That's dope. Okay, and before we go any further, this channel was headed by me, Westside JJ, and like respect, I think support should be earned. So if you like what you see, I want you to press that button that matches that emotion. And if you want to spin the block, subscribe. Once again, this is the Great Expression Installment 2, and we about to get into the show, y'all. And speaking of Kendrick Lamar, this is the viral section of where we talk about a viral moment called In the Moment. And right now, Kendrick Lamar is in the moment. Just last night, he swept the rap Grammys. Well, not just rap. He won Record of the Year, Song of the Year, Best Music Video, Best Rap Performance, and Best Rap Song for his diss record, his classic diss record, Not Like Us. And like Dre said, when the battle was going on real time, there was a heavy debate going on. It was probably one of the best moments of hip hop in a long time. So all the heads were just meeting up and debating, having their discussions on the songs. Everybody had a difference of opinion. Well, not everybody had a difference of opinion. Everyone had their own opinion. It's just me and Dre had a difference of opinion. Were you in support of Drake or you just wasn't in support of Kendrick? Which one was it?
Yeah, so I'm typically just more often a Drake fan. Kendrick just doesn't really make too much West Coast music for me. Drake is more versatile to me. But when that battle was going back and forth, I was just looking just for some West Coast hits. At that point, I was just like, okay, I was just waiting for Kendrick to really drop some heat, and so I just wasn't impressed with majority of what he did.
So the majority, what about Not Like Us? How did you feel about that?
Yeah, so Not Like Us and Not Like Us, that's something that's more of a West Coast style. And this before me and you was going back and forth before he dropped Not Like Us, because when he's dropping all the stuff to like our grandparents' music and stuff like that, I'm like, what is this? This is not what we come to expect from West Coast music. So I wouldn't like that stuff. Like that was maybe for his
core.
Yeah, for his core bass stuff like that. But when you're in a rap battle, that's not what you do. I don't know what that was.
So who do you think won the battle?
So for me, I don't give it just the one round. So Kendrick won that particular round.
The Not Like Us round.
And not bar for bar. But as a cohesive whole of a song, he won. Mm-hmm. Bar for bar, though, Drake worked in bar for bar. So
throughout the battle,
throughout the entirety of the battle. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think with Kendrick being a West Coaster, and with the tradition that we have of West Coast, the no Vaselines, right? You know what I'm saying? With the real motherfucking G's and all that kind of stuff.
But no, what beat was that Ice Cube sampled on No Vaseline?
Ooh,
that like Casey and the Sunshine Band?
Yeah, something like that. But you see, there was a difference in just an overall sound. That didn't sound like when Kendrick was dropping that other stuff. It sounded like he was on an elevator. I mean, it sounded like the stuff that they playing when you're walking out.
Just the intro to Euphoria, the actual beat, the song dropped.
No, listen, the whole song, all of them songs, they was garbage. And again, and they didn't have the West Coast music is known for sounding like you're in the midst of the struggle. You hear the hunger, especially in the diss records. What I'm looking for, especially when you're doing like Kendrick and you're trying to invoke this Pac image or stuff, right? I'm looking for a hit 'em up. Mm. I'm looking for that level of disrespect, the vitriol. I'm like, I want to see you spitting at the camera when you rap this stuff. So when you drop Not Like Us, I'm like, okay, this is it. But this sophisticated level that Kendrick was trying to go to, that's not.
That didn't work for you.
That ain't West Coast beef.
So so you're gonna bottle him in to where he just has to do it West Coast, but he doesn't make traditional West Coast music in general.
Well, exactly. That's exactly the thing. But what he was doing, and the whole thing was him claiming the West Coast mantle. Mm. If you claim the West Coast mantle, I expect you to wear the West Coast.
Yeah.
So if you're doing all that stuff, right, and then with all the stuff we learned about later, right, you want the West Coast backing, right? And we territorial over here. We territorial in the West. So you want the West Coast backing, then feed the West Coast. Not just your fan base, but feed the West Coast. So that's what I wanted.
But you don't think the West Coast backed them?
Oh no! Listen, the West Coast backed just because we're necessarily territorial.
So look at it this way: if you view yourself as a strong force, do you have to conform to others for them to want to back you up, or could you just do what you want and then they roll with it?
Well, I kind of like what you said earlier, right? Yeah. The support should be earned.
Yeah.
Right. So in the middle of that battle, right? You give me another reason to go for you, other than the fact that you're from the West Coast.
Yeah.
I want you to say, hey, like, man, he jumped out the window. Slaughtered him. Now, and again, so like Kendrick has got on some records and stuff, like some of the stuff he did with Game. Like I mean, he did some stuff. I remember he did the Catch a Fade with E40. He can channel the West Coast sound. He can do that kind of thing.
He showed that we're not like us.
Yeah, but 1 out of like 4 or 5. So it's like why you to do it the whole time?
I mean, he for his actual diss records, I think he gave us 4 different sounds and 4 different approaches.
That level is listen.
And sometimes, I guess, to your defense, some people are just too versatile of rappers where they just, maybe I should just focus and just punch the same area over and over and over instead of here, and here. Maybe I should just throw a bunch of haymakers.
Yeah.
Where he might have jabbed, hooked, uppercut.
Yeah, so and I wouldn't even call those uppercuts. He was across the room punching the speed bag. Okay, because you weren't in a battle. You weren't in one. I think that there was definitely something that the West Coast doesn't need to get credit for. It's that level of tact. The fact that he was as strategic as he was with the release, like of records, things like that. You know, that stuff that he should be given credit for. That stuff counts.
So you think strategically?
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, just as a cohesive whole, you know. So I don't think Drake and his camp, they weren't anticipating, you know, smothering the records.
I don't think anyone expected.
Yeah. Yes. Nobody. I'm in the middle of watching. Drake stuff that he dropped. I'm in the middle of watching it. And as a matter of fact, I was watching
Family Matters.
Yep,
yeah.
I'm watching Family Matters. I'm watching the stream from Academics. I just got through watching the video, and I go watch his stream. As I'm watching the stream, Academics just start screaming. It's like, oh, Kendrick just dropped again, right? And I said, that's cold. That's cold what he did. And especially because that was using Drake's move against him, like with the speed by which he's releasing the records and stuff. And so that was...
Meet the Grams is the least favorite track of his. That out of the 4 discs, Meet the Grams is my least favorite.
Do you count like that as part of the?
That's a part of the battle.
Okay.
That's like that's like if 2 countries were.
Yeah.
You go and bomb them. You're not going to tell them you're going to bomb them.
Yeah.
You're going to go and attack them, and then now it's like, oh, now it's war.
Okay, so then are you including first person shooter?
Nah, I don't really think Drake was dissing him on there, in my opinion. I mean, maybe he was, because they have a long history of subliminal dissing.
Yeah, just of thugs and subliminals. Yeah.
So if we wanted to go all the way back and then go and dig into their history.
Well, yeah, I'm just thinking just like, so like in that one, because Kendrick was responding to first person shooter.
Yeah. Yeah, but no. It was just, I think for him, it was just time to just, somebody gotta take it there.
Yeah.
It was a bunch of just hearsay. It was a bunch of subs. They know they don't like each other. Both camps know what's going on. What I think was stopped it a lot of times is Top Dog and Birdman are basically buddies.
Yeah.
So they were probably like, nah. Focus on your music. No battle. Kendrick is now off of TDE. Drake has been off of Cash Money for a while. Yeah. So now they're both bosses. So now who's going to stop them? You know, I have my own thing going on. I could release this record. You can't block this record. So he used it. And strategy-wise, Kendrick blew him out the water because he uses Future. Yeah. Future. So he goes on
all of these collabs. So he got one of your mans.
He goes on one of the next bigger rappers album and drops him on and disses him on the early track. This is Cole on both of them and just gets it started. And so that was really strategic. I count that towards the battle. I think
if we count that, that's a good one. But I personally think that verse is better than the disses Drake had for him on Push-Ups. I personally think so. I didn't like Push-Ups. I liked all the other Drake tracks, but Push-Ups was like, in my opinion, I think he took Kendrick lightly. I think he basically looked at him like get away. You can't really know. You're not even in my class, which is fine for Drake to think that, which how successful it is. But we're not talking about record sales and stuff like that right now. We're talking about 2 people battling. So he's big enough to where you can't necessarily shoo him off. Well, outside of success, are they equal in, I don't know, let's say, so I don't know if you mean like success of records or financially, but how about song quality? Do you think that Kendrick is on the same level of Drake with song quality? Yeah, I think so. I think you've been drinking before. I think so. Yeah, I think you've been drinking. I think so. Yeah. So that's what you do. I think he makes better albums than Drake, in my personal opinion. Drake's incredible though. I'm a Drake fan. I like Drake. So you from the West Side?
Yeah,
I'm from the West Side.
yeah.
You ever heard a nigga riding around listening to Kendrick? Like,
Me?
think about it. No, not you.
Me.
No, not you. Have you ever been riding somewhere, right?
But music is music. People like to use that example, but how often do are you in your car? A lot of people, I guess, some people probably live in their car. They travel a lot, but that's not the only place people listen to music.
Yeah, I'm saying, but like when you're in your car,
And he doesn't necessarily make music for the car. He makes listening music.
And that's so here's the thing.
There's different places for music.
Well, see, and that's what I'm saying. So music is about, and which kind of gets into this most recent album, it's about more than just what I think Kendrick is after. So Kendrick is like Kendrick makes like museum songs. And I don't mean like the sort of songs that you play in a museum, but like you want to like every once in a while when you want to come marvelous and say, oh, look at the, double entendres that, that Kendrick dropped here in the song.
Art.
But he's not, but the culture is not calling for your voice. People aren't asking, hey, I need a summer mix, right? I need something to dance to.
Nah.
Yeah. So
Of course not.
So that's what I'm saying. So as far as song quality, like what a robust song is, Drake is running that. Like in he's in the world agrees, because that's what they're looking for. They don't want the song you're gonna come listen to one time and say, hey man, like man, that was dope, like what you did, and then nobody ever listens to it again.
But that's not true. He doesn't fit that criteria because Good Kid, Mad City is the longest standing album on the Billboard Top 200, and it was dropped during physicals.
Yeah.
So the album's still selling. People still listen.
Which one of the albums?
That's his
was
debut album.
Yeah, it was his debut album.
Yeah.
And what about all those other ones?
They do well. Damn's more successful as far as sales.
So for like singles that's on there, or like people are playing the album.
When he goes and creates, he has his own thing he does that works for him.
Yeah.
And it's successful. It's not as successful as Drake.
That's what I'm saying.
No one is.
Yeah.
No one is. But Drake can't shoo him off the way he would shoo off a Pusha T.
Yeah.
Or I don't know, even a Meek Mill. Because Kendrick is...
Yeah, because Meek was definitely a wash.
Kendrick is someone who can go and have the highest grossing tour of all time before Drake came and followed it. Because Meek couldn't do... The other people who were into it with Drake couldn't do that.
Yeah.
But Kendrick could.
Yeah.
So he can say, well, I'm more successful, obviously. That's obvious.
Yeah.
But it's not like, well, I'm 2 or 3 or 4.
But what one of the things too that Drake could also say that Kendrick can't say is that I built you, that I made you, that I brought you.
Nah.
Hey, wait. Hey, listen.
You want to go with the tour thing?
No, not with the tour thing, but with the exposure that he gave him. I mean, I remember during the height of the thing, the video resurfaced and it was Kendrick in the back of the limo. We was talking about Drake putting him in this position.
Yeah.
So,
you mean like putting him on tour, basically?
No, I mean, so not just the tour, but the notoriety, like putting him on Buried Alive.
Yeah.
Right? So you put him on on that. So and that's the nature of what features do, right? So features are about letting your core audience get introduced to this other person. And that wasn't a mutually beneficial situation for Drake. Because Kendrick's following.
I mean, it seemed like it is.
No. At that time?
Because Drake gave him damn near his own song. It's on the CD version.
Well, no, yeah. It started as one song and ended up getting split up.
Yeah, on the stream it's split up.
Yeah, on the stream it's split up.
You think that much about Kendrick as a rapper?
I first heard, and this is anecdotal, right? But I first was listening to Kendrick because of Buried Alive. And listen, I'm sitting there, going through the girl stuff at the time. She had left, and I'm wrapped up in a blanket on the couch. Look, I swear I ain't lied. I'm sitting there wrapped up in a blanket, sick as a dog, and just playing.
It's Marvin's Room. It's on the back end.
Back in Marvin's Room. But Take Care of the album. I got Take Care. I got my little CD player sitting next to the couch because I ain't left the couch, and it's just I got it just to where it's gonna keep repeating, and then and so that made me go listen to Kendrick.
Yeah.
So it introduced me.
It's a look.
Yeah.
It's a look.
So and again, Kendrick has said as much. Like as I was watching Whack 100 on the podcast. He was talking about Drake should feel like how he feels because he is responsible.
I wouldn't say he made him though. I mean, think about this, bro. He signed to Jimmy Iovine and Dr. Dre. Mm-hmm. They can do more for Kendrick than Drake can.
No.
Who are the artists on OVO that rap outside of Party Next Door? You probably know him, but who are they?
So I know one of them was number 15. I ain't heard nothing from him in a minute.
Roy Woods?
Yeah, Roy Woods, and I don't even know if
how successful was Roy
Jordan.
Woods?
Well, so here in America, not very successful, but in Canada, he does
So you
pretty
think,
good stuff.
well, if he's signed to Drake, you would think since Drake is able to make artists, he would be somebody in America.
Well, they don't. So a lot of the artists, so like even like a Party Next Door, it's like with a lot of the OVO artists. So like with Division is dope. I think I first heard of Division at a Drake concert. I was at Drake tour. I went to the one up in San Jose, but and I first heard Division. A lot of artists I've heard of for the first time, but a lot of those OVO artists, they don't want to get the success because they're tied to Drake. So a lot of them, like Party Next Door, rarely ever has any features from anybody because he wanted to develop his own following that he thought would be authentic. And so that's like the sort of general thing I think I get from a lot of them.
But they've done work with Drake though, correct?
Yeah.
So Kendrick he went on a few, he did only several shows because he didn't go on that whole tour.
Yeah.
And then he did one feature with Drake.
No, I think they did
before the album.
Yeah, because you're
talking about with the because him, ASAP Rocky, and Drake.
Yeah.
I'm not giving Drake the credit for that because it's not Drake's song.
What?
It's not Drake's song.
Listen,
it's ASAP Rocky's song.
If you try to deny the Drake effect, you ain't being honest to the culture. There's a Drake effect.
There is.
Like with the Migos, and I ain't saying, to your point, Kendrick obviously has to have the talent, and people obviously have to take a liking to him too. What I'm saying is that, like, when it comes to music and when it comes to sports, with any of this stuff, right? To get the look, right? So it's not enough just to have the talent. It's a combination of the talent and the right connections. What I'm saying is that without the right connections, I don't think
Jimmy Iovine and Dr. Dre.
Man, listen,
top dog.
Well, just like you said, right? When you talk about the other OVO artists and stuff, right? Jimmy Iovine, they put out a lot of the Interscope stuff. A lot of them people didn't end up reaching any success. I mean, like there's a long list.
They prioritize certain people though.
Mm-hmm.
They get Kendrick Lamar, who's Drake, like I said, gave him his own beat.
Mm-hmm.
Now streamers essentially can see it and say, well, he has his own song on a Drake album. So he thought that much about Kendrick. So that says something about Kendrick. No. He thought that much about him to say, I want you to rap on this. You're going to do your own thing. I'm not even going to rap on it.
Okay, so
you think that's just a gift? Or did Kendrick earn that?
No. Kendrick and Drake definitely thought Kendrick was dope. So he definitely recognized the talent. I think everybody, you can recognize the talent of Kendrick. I hate the voices he makes, but you can recognize the talent. Like, he got bars. You can't take it from him. But that look is what.
It's a good look.
Yeah. So I think it's one hell of a look. I think, if we put a percentage on it, it's going to be, I don't know, it's going to be pretty substantial to where you needed the talent, but you also needed the exposure.
So overall, I mean, I guess you say who won, Drake?
So I think it depends on
bars. You say bar for bar, Drake wins.
I think bar for bar, Drake wins. But I think, like I said, with because I think that most people, when they're judging the rap battle, they're judging it off of Not Like Us.
Yeah.
And I think I'm in my mind, I'm dividing it by rounds, and I'm scoring it like I would do a boxing match.
So what would be round one for you?
That would be Like That, and then what was the first thing Drake dropped?
Push-ups.
Push-ups took it. And then the next thing was
Tailor Made
Freestyle.
And then Euphoria.
And then, but also the other one where he did the what was I don't even think he put a title on it, but it was the song too that he did with the Buried Alive beat.
Oh yeah, he put it on Instagram.
Yeah, the one he put on Instagram. I count that, which is, I mean, it was funny. It was a parody of Kendrick and stuff where he's making the voice. I count that. So I give that one to Drake. And I think when you got
is that in? Like, who was that? What's that up against?
That will be up against Euphoria.
And you got that over Euphoria?
Oh, definitely.
Wow.
Definitely. Definitely. Most definitely.
For real?
Definitely.
Like, to me, that's the best song in the whole beef, in my opinion.
So what do you think of the, not just punchlines, but what do you think of the bars and sophistication and Not Like Us?
It's not like the most technical raps.
Yeah.
But they good disses. You don't have to be. I use 50 Cent as an example. He never wows you with bars, but he just gonna diss you in a way. You don't have to be overly creative. Kendrick himself said my simplest shit can be more pivotal. You don't have to be like the most technical rapper to diss somebody.
Yeah. See, so I think, like I said, because it ain't got to be overly sophisticated. I think it should be gritty. You know, it's the mudslinging, it's the fight,
and it's funny. Like when I listen to the song,
exactly.
It's comedy.
Yeah, part of I think what makes the disses, what makes a good diss is that like you got to stop and laugh. It's like, hey man, that was good. Like hey, that's funny. So you know, it's like the whole comparing them to Sexy Red thing. That was funny. That was hilarious. So you know, what I'm saying, I'm like that's good. It's just
I just think Drake didn't take him serious enough until it was too late. Like once Not Like Us dropped, it was too late.
Yeah.
Because that took the world by storm.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm interested too.
When you hear the Hard Part 6, you can hear Drake is now he's mad. Yeah. Now he's angered. Yeah. Before that, he was just kind of like, oh, this is light work.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I think you know he's like appalled at some of the stuff that was being said. Yeah. But again, so like, and this is some of the stuff too that I don't think Drake got credit for, like either, with just how tactical he was, like with stuff like, again, like getting a van that's almost identical to the Good Kid, Mad City van and stuff like that, like the 50 Cent spin and chain, you know, with all of the stuff, you know, that he had in that, just really just in those disses and stuff as a whole, I think, you know, they were, he didn't get enough credit for. But I think that part of that was part of where Kendrick's greatness and strategy came from, because he smothered it. Yeah, you know, by making sure that you weren't going to focus on that. Like you heard the song, you weren't going to get a chance to continue to repeat it and replay it because he just dropped something new.
And then another one.
Yeah, and then another one after that. So, you know, so yeah, I think that that he helped. You know, he smothered that fire just with, you know, with a strategy. So, yeah.
For sure. So all in all, I mean, still difference than opinion. I always called it a battle of preference. It just depends on what your preference is in the battle, on who you thought win. I still think Kendrick won by. Right now, I say by a clear margin, but it was close at a point. But I feel like it's a clear margin. But I can understand why you would say he won. So, you know, that's the fun stuff. You know, we wanted to talk about some fun stuff first. Hopefully, y'all enjoyed that, because we about to really take the mask off. No face right now.
No face.
And we're getting into the assignment segment of the show. And I think Dre understands the assignment. So we have a new president in office, President Donald Trump, and he got to work instantly. And I see a lot of talk about him on social media. I've been in conversations with him around barbecue pits. There's a lot going on, a lot of stuff that people may think is unfortunate. I myself, I didn't vote. I don't vote. I haven't voted since 2008, and I voted for Barack Obama. I, like most people, don't know very much about politics. You know, in hip hop debates, I have a lot of those, and I can tell sometimes when people don't know about hip hop. So I can imagine that the people who choose to engage in politics probably don't know what they're talking about either. So I myself, I don't have a vast knowledge on politics. So I kind of just let the people who do or want to act like they do talk about it. So my man here, who did you vote for?
I voted for Donald Trump.
He voted for Donald Trump. So what I want you to do is to explain to the citizens who lack political knowledge on the reason that President Donald Trump earned your vote. And I also want to, if any, tell me some of the cons you may have with President Donald Trump.
Absolutely. Yeah. So before I get to politics, I think there's a philosophical reason anyway, just for me leaning the way that I do. I'm a conservative. You can be a conservative without being a Republican. But there's a reason why I'm a conservative. Black folks as a whole are socially conservative. They're generally socially conservative. So most of the stuff that gets pushed by the other side tends to be far more liberal. It continues to push the line. You know, we come from generations of people who are far more traditional marriages, traditional families, traditional relationships. They've been historically a people group that have been self-sufficient, had to be coming out of slavery, coming through Jim Crow. The idea, historically speaking, for Black folks has been one of, we're going to do it ourselves, we're going to find our own solutions. And so I lean conservative just as a whole, which is the side that Donald Trump is now falling on. So this is part of the reason why I ended up leaning that direction, just because just Black people just as a whole, we're generally more conservative with most topics. You know, if you ask us outside of a ballot box about topics, and it could be anything. It could be, I don't mean to be, too controversial, but like you talk about issues like homosexuality, transgenderism, those sorts of things. Black people especially from my era on back, like there's been clear lines of demarcation, and certain things we haven't condoned that we didn't think to be regular. And so Donald Trump ended up entering in prior to like some past decades, you could be a conservative Democrat or a liberal Republican, right? John F. Kennedy was a conservative Democrat. George W. Bush was a liberal Republican. And so you could be one of those, but recently there's been more polarized. So conservatives fall to the Republican side, liberals fall to the Democrat side. It's just what happens.
Okay, let me stop you in the middle.
Yes,
for the uneducated, what's a liberal and what's a conservative?
Yeah, so there's a couple different types of conservative. The conservative type that I'm talking about is called an autonomous conservative, but basically, in short, it's about an adherence to tradition. It doesn't mean that you're immune to changes. Doesn't mean that you reject changes being made, anything like that. It just means that you're more skeptical of change and you want a good reason to do something different in the way we've been doing it. Liberalism as a whole it's an ideology, and you could be a political liberal, you can be a religious liberal. It just basically means you're a little more loose. Like if you say you apply salt liberally, you want to just sort of.
Yeah.
So you're a little more loose with terms. You're a little more likely to change, to challenge norms and things like that. With or without evidence, you could just for the sake of challenging conventional wisdom in and of itself, you might pick up and move another direction. Conservatives are a little more skeptical because they say, give me a good reason to do so beforehand. Give me some evidence before I do so. So that's how it's typically defined when you talk about liberalism and conservatism. But so Donald Trump enters and he says a lot of things that are on the side of conservatives. By and large, Republicans are saying they have a lot of conservative talking points. From economics, right? Where a liberal might be more apt to spend money because they want to solve some problem. The conservative says, well, give me some reason to think that if I spend money on that, it'll turn out good. And so from my perspective, there's two different modes of thinking between liberals and conservatives, Democrats and Republicans, where by and large, it's the difference in intentions and results. The conservative wants to know that I'm likely to get the results that you're talking about. The liberal says, this sounds like a good idea. Let's spend some money on it.
Yeah.
And so Trump came in and, he was talking about a lot of things that conservatives typically believe in. And I was like, okay, he sounds good. He wasn't, when they were doing the primaries where they were trying to pick who was going to be the front runner for the party, he would not have been my first choice. Rand Paul would have been my first choice in the first time that he ran. Rand Paul's talking points. I think most people, if you had a conversation, listen to Rand Paul, most black people would be like, hey, I like what this dude's talking about. Criminal justice reform, the First Step Act, all that kind of stuff. Largely Rand Paul and his father, Ron Paul, two Republicans. These were largely their pushes. Donald Trump ended up bringing them on and adopt some of the stuff. So, but when he became the front runner, he was the better choice of the two. And so I was like, okay, well, if you got to boil it down to two, which is just a mathematical thing, you're going to have to pick between one of the two. Otherwise, you split the vote and you pretty much guarantee a loss for your side. So it was, go with Trump. He hit office.
Did you vote for Trump the first time around?
Yeah, voted for him the first time around. So in the primaries, I didn't vote in any primaries. It by and large in California, it's really not going to make a difference what we do here anyway. So, but I did vote for him even in the national, even though that also is really not going to make a difference here because we got such a Democrat majority. But yeah, I voted for him the first time around, second and third.
Oh,
yeah, he lost.
Yeah, got the three-peat. The three-peat. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was watching a video of yours today, and you touched on a very, very sensitive topic. But I have an opinion on it. It's not a strong opinion, and but it's a very, very sensitive topic. But you made a good point, and it was talking about immigration and ICE and all the things that they're doing now is kind of, I guess, going to get undocumented citizens or illegal immigrants or whatever you want to call it. And you shared a picture, you and your father. So I'm like, well, okay, where is he taking this? And he was like, well, my father did some time. He did, I guess you said basically 25 years.
24 years, 8 months on that.
24 years, 8 months. And he was stripped from his family because he did something illegal, right? So you didn't use the victim mentality of like, oh, my father was stripped from me and it was wrong. And he said, well, he did something illegal that he knew was illegal, and he did his time for it.
Yeah.
So people coming here from anywhere, not just Mexico, any country, however they get here, illegally, know the risk that they take when they come here for a better life, and they come here with their families, or they come here and create a family. They know the risk that they take. And I applaud them for coming here for better opportunity, because sometimes that's what it takes. Sometimes it takes you to do something illegal to live the life you want to live, or to take care of your family. Sometimes you just have to do something illegal. And in my lifetime, I have a respect for people who did illegal things that didn't harm anyone, that they had to do in order to provide. And so I'm gonna be clear on my stance. So I personally don't, because it hasn't affected me directly, I try my best to ignore all the immigration things that are going on, because it hasn't affected me directly. I don't know anyone personally that's has gone through this. At least I'm sure I know some people who have lost people, but no one's told me like, hey, you know, my grandpa was deported or my dad was deported. The people who I do sympathize for are the kids. And this is the same with in your situation. Like, I have older cousins who've done time. I have people with L's that's never coming home. And I don't necessarily sympathize for them because they're adults and they know what they did. But if they have kids that are always, you know, what about so-and-so and what about so-and-so? What about the kids? Because it's the kids who don't understand. And now they're missing their fathers or they're missing their moms. So I sympathize for the children of the people, or the people that depend on these people that are now going through these being deported. But I do understand that it is illegal, and you know what you're doing, and there's consequences for illegal activity. Now, that's my stance. I know it's sensitive. That's my stance. I want to be clear. In my supporter, I'm really not on either side. I'm kind of just down the middle. It hasn't affected me directly. I love Mexican people, love Hispanic people. All my earliest friends in life were Hispanics. I share a neighborhood with Hispanics basically all my life. But can you speak more on that, on your stance on immigration? You actually know numbers. Yeah. You know reasons why immigration could be detrimental to some legal Americans. You know why. Yeah. You got the facts. Yeah. Me, I'm a person without the facts. So if I don't have the facts, I usually back off on topics. But you have those facts. And what are some of the reasons why you may or may not agree with what's going on?
Yeah. So one of the ones which you touched on, it's about responsibility. It's, you can't send a message that, and just by this nature of just simple math, right? You can't think that you can just have an open border, anybody can come in. There's actual consequences. But first and foremost, if you have laws that are on the books, those are obviously to be enforced, otherwise they don't really serve a purpose. There are incentives that have been given that have had real world effects. Some of the ones that I didn't even touch on in my video because I had planned on, I cut out heck of clips on there because I wanted to shorten it. I realized it was like 20 minutes, so I cut it down to 7 and some change. But one of the things like that having a sort of open border and the numbers sort of, they expose this, but most of the children, most of the people who end up coming, they end up being single adult males who come to the country. It's not women, not children, the vast majority. When they are finding children, the vast majority, it's something like 3/4 of them are unaccompanied, completely unaccompanied. You have a child wandering. Having an open border is incentivizing the deaths of children walking across that path, swimming, they're drowning, they're dying, coming this way, just having the open border. And so for me, one of the principles I think there is, it's probably going to be better to be alive and have even what may be a bad situation there than to be dead. I tend to think that death, it puts the end to all of your rights, to all of everything that you're experiencing, and not in a good way, but that you have no opportunity for an alternative. And so the open border thing, it incentivizes people to try to come here. Quick side note, I remember in the election that we were talking about where Trump was running, when the Democrats came on, and anybody can go back and pull us up and look at it. When the Democrats came on and they was having their primary election, they up there and they on the news, and everyone gets an opportunity to speak. The vast majority of them started out their speeches by speaking Spanish. And that's obviously not to signal anything to legal citizens of the United States, because usually by that time, these are people who have acquired, at least some modicum of an understanding of the English language. But they're signaling to particular groups of people. And there's a whole political strategy, which I won't get into to take too much time, but you sort of incentivize those sorts of things. And so the deaths that happen as a result of you having an open border policy where people are sending their kids completely unaccompanied, they're being harmed they're having innocence taken from them by people who, are taking advantage of them. People are dying, they're dehydrated. You incentivize that sort of thing. So that's a problem even for the population that you're sending over. But two, like even when you get here, there are some real issues that I didn't even get to touch on in the video, but it's a fact. There's a website, nber.org, National Bureau of Economic Research, that goes over things like the increase in Black incarceration as a result of illegal immigration, the increase in Black unemployment rates as a result of illegal immigration. Like I said, it's a basic math issue. There's not an infinite number of houses in the United States, not an infinite number of houses in California, Fresno, anywhere. Houses don't just pop up. There's a finite amount of land. You can only put so many houses somewhere. And so if you import tens of millions of additional people, well, that creates issues for the people who are already here. And if we live in one of the most expensive states in the country and where we have housing shortages, right, then how can you continue to bring in more people? Well, just the law of economics is going to say, well, that shortage is going to cause the prices to go up because you have more people vying for that. So that's why, like, you go up to San Francisco, you try to buy a house up there. They got cases of people trying to put up 10 years worth of rent to rent a property up there because they got all the people want to live up there and the property is scarce. So that continues to happen here in California. You got the issues with Black Americans. Like I said, if we give it $740 million to English second language programs, and yet technical programs have left the schools, right? That's an issue for me. I think that as being someone from the West Side like you are, we know that where a lot of the people come into, and it don't have to just be Mexicans, it's like over 30 countries that get captured at the border. People come from China, they catch a flight into South America or Central America somewhere, they walk up, and they come to America.
Haiti.
Yeah, Haiti.
Jamaica.
Yeah, so, but they end up, as a result, most of them end up living in areas and stuff where we come from. We have an entire changing dynamic. And so we would raise an issue if they were white. We call it gentrification, right? Because they come and they move and they price us out and we move out of the area. Right. Whole loss of identity, loss of community, loss of culture, the whole 9 yards. But that same thing is happening. It's just that they sort of incentivize and tell you that you're doing something good when they come across either the northern or southern border. And I'm just like, that doesn't make any sense to me. So I don't like that part of it. I don't like, when we talk about overcrowding schools and if you own a property, if you own homes, your property taxes in the state of California, for example, they go to fund schools, right? But our money is not going to stretch as far if we averaging 40 kids a classroom. Right. So that decreases the quality of education. So like it's almost common knowledge that, you have the smaller classroom sizes, the teacher can do more because it's a finite amount of time. So how you going to divide the time? You got 40, 50 kids in the classroom and stuff. And, and then they got to focus. I had a job where I worked right here downtown. And this one is not even the argument about illegals coming in and taking jobs, which they do. If you look up the studies on it, you'll find that they do because we have to compete for the same jobs. And especially, and like I said in the video, because of the fact that a company can hire them and know that you're not going to report me if I pay you less. I can hire you over hiring the Black dude who is going to report me. He's a citizen. I know this one's not going to hire me because he knows that if he can't ruffle feathers, he might get deported. So, but there's other effects too, which I didn't put in my video. But I worked for a call center one time, right? And they hired, in that particular class, 250 people. Of the 250 positions that they hired, 7 of those positions did not require for you to speak Spanish. That means 243 did. And of the 7 that didn't require you to speak Spanish, 5 of the other people in the class did speak Spanish. So that means 2 people in the classroom didn't speak Spanish. There were 2 Black people in the whole entirety of the class. And so that one's not them coming in and taking the job. But that's what you have is you have an influx of people that the business says we need to be able to communicate with. And so because they need to be able to communicate with them, they need a workforce that can communicate with them. And so what that does is that prices niggas like me, I'm right out of a job. I don't have, so if they had made it a requirement for my position as well, I wouldn't have even gotten a job. Right. And so that's potentially and potentially, not necessarily, but potentially 250 jobs that could have went to people who have a right to be here.
Yeah.
And to me, that's a problem. So, I think that, and there's lots of jobs. There was another girl on my Facebook page who said, I've been trying to get a job as a medical assistant, but they won't hire if you don't speak Spanish. This is a black girl who said it.
Yeah.
So I see that as a black man and I say, this is my community, this is my harvest, this where I've been called to toil. I look at that and they say, well, that's a problem.
Yeah. And I've worked places. I've worked at AT&T before, sales. And I think it was maybe 80 salespeople in our whole district. And I was the only black person, the whole sales district. And I got hired because my black homie had some clout in upper management.
Yeah.
So I get that. And then the cliche is that we don't want to work. That, oh yeah, black people, they don't want to work, right? And they'll find one person and use that one person as an example for the whole community.
Yeah.
And you said that the perception is also that these field jobs are these jobs that they say that we don't want to do.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly what you said, but you made a point. You had statistics back in you.
Yeah, I posted.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
What was that?
Yeah. So the highest concentration of illegal immigrants, they work in the construction field. And like I said in the video, I know niggas who would love to be an electrician.
Yeah.
Niggas would love to learn how to be a roofer and stuff. But again, and that doesn't even get into, where you have nepotism. So I mean, you got the fact that they're, that they come in and they're willing to work for lower wages and stuff. And so that makes they can be more competitive. And so with American citizens, you might be a part of a union, you might have minimum wage laws and stuff like that. And so you don't even get to compete. You don't even get to compete because let's say an employer said, well, I want to hire you. Well, minimum wage laws, and this is a long conversation, but that's sort of the first ones that went into effect. They actually were put there to protect white people. The first minimum wage laws are put there. The Davis-Bacon Act was put there to protect white construction workers in a field where blacks dominated in the construction field. So they put the laws like that in effect. So now, because we got those things in effect, when you import people from another country who aren't going to report you and stuff, right? They're the only ones who can be competitive. They can say, hey, I know you got to hire JJ. You got to give him $16.50 an hour. I'll work for 10. And they get to have that negotiation. They say, well, I can't, that's a non-starter of a conversation with JJ because what if he get upset one day and he just report me?
I ain't taking 10.
Exactly. So you ain't gonna take 10. And so, but you have they dominate in the service industry. They work in hotels. And the majority of agricultural workers are American citizens anyway. But we would work in construction. We would work hospitality. We would work in the food industry. This is where they have these really, really large numbers. They have large numbers in agriculture stuff as well. But even with that, one of the papers on the website for the National Bureau of Economic Research showed this was 07. In 07, they rated. There was a New York Times article about it as well. But ICE came through, and they came through this factory, and they were rounding people up. Most of the people who worked there were illegal immigrants, and so what happened is the illegal immigrants stopped going to work. What that meant is that the factory that had been paying these illegal immigrants this wage, well, they had to raise the wage that they were offering. They didn't have to change the minimum wage. Minimum wage is separate. 2.3% of adults earn minimum wage as it is. So when I talk about minimum wage, but they had to raise the wage that they were offering in the agricultural factory that they were working in. And when they did so, I think it was like 900 jobs. They were immediately filled by black people.
Yeah.
So you have a depression of wages, and that's just a supply and demand principle. You got so much of a supply, more supply than demand. The price is going to go down. So they'll come in, they'll depress wages. If you got tens of millions of them to come in depressing wages, and they doing so for black folks. Our incarceration rate goes up because you got niggas sitting around idle. They got nothing to do.
Yeah.
So they own the block. They got to do something illegal because they're like, okay, well, I'm sitting around here. So I'm just saying that, that when that sort of stuff happens, that ends up being a benefit for black folks.
Mm-hmm.
And then, and the last thing I think, just on that whole thing, I didn't ask to be here. Y'all came and got me.
Right.
Y'all came and picked us up. So there was multiple different situations going on in Africa. Sometimes wartime, sometimes they made war because they were trying to, get a supply of slaves to sell and trade. But either way, I wasn't over here. Y'all came and got me. And then we struggled. We fought through multiple different types and modes of slavery, all in the New World. Brazil, we had the largest number of stuff that was going. We're there. We're here in North America and whatnot. And then we get up here, and you got the antebellum period, like 1812 to 1863. And this is where slavery gets at its worst. And it's so bad, right? We start publishing, all of these just different accounts of slaves and slavery and the stuff they're going through. And then you get 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment, right? And so we got this whole struggle. Y'all can't pick this up. You got us here. You're trying to deny me of my rights, even though I'm a subject of the United States. Mm-hmm. And then you got them coming along and then manipulating everyone and getting us to champion their struggle as if it's ours. That's not the struggle we got.
Yeah.
Setting aside the fact that, again, this may ruffle some feathers, but anybody can look up the numbers. Mestizos make up the largest segment of Mexicans. Mm-hmm. Speaking specifically of Mexicans, no disrespect to Mexicans, but they make up the largest number of them, meaning that they're majority European.
Yeah.
So most people think of them as indigenous. They get to talk about, they're already here, but that's not true. You got 90% of the ones over here in North America, of the Native Americans, they were wiped out by disease and all other kind of stuff. So you actually have an influx of people who are mostly descendants of Europeans invading the country. And then you got black folks thinking that they're, supporting some minority group. Well, they're a minority according to the census, but in reality, they're majority Europeans that's coming in and replacing us. And so you're getting replaced by, you're getting replaced by, Europeans and stuff, but thinking that you're doing something noble. And, and then just the misuse of the struggle for the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment. 15th Amendment, for example, was one that was worked on by one of the main leaders of the Underground Railroad, specifically. And you got the 14th Amendment, which is about people who were subject to the jurisdiction of the United States, meaning like you had slaves. We were subjects. We could be punished by them and stuff because we were here. And it says that if we are born or naturalized here, then we're citizens.
Right.
Because we're subjects of the jurisdiction of the United States. The whole of the debate, you read the debates, and I said this in the video, you read the debates back and forth, which I have. As a historian, I have. You read the stuff on the development of the 14th Amendment, and you say this is all about slaves and protecting slaves, people who were here, they were subject to the United States, they were subject to its jurisdiction by the very fact that they were counted as property, they can be convicted of crimes and the whole 9 yards because they were subjects. They began under the power of the United States. That had nothing to do with people coming here from any country.
Yeah.
And getting pregnant and having a kid here. And so I don't like them standing on our struggles and using that. To me, it's a slap in the face, it's disrespect.
Yeah.
So, so all of those reasons, I'm just like, I'm opposed. I'm opposed to the whole thing. And I think, and that's not to say, that you don't and can't have immigration. We're the most generous country. Immigration, I don't think we give something like 1 million visas or something like that a year. We're the most generous country, and I don't think
just go through the necessary channels.
Go through the necessary steps, especially because there's adverse effects for the communities that's here, and I don't like that.
So like a lot of say like
face.
Punjabis or Indians, they come here on those types of visas.
Yeah. So they come on those type of visas, and like you get a lot of them too. It was like some of them they do. Like there was one. I remember my professor of City College. Shout out to Professor Joe Hall. He said this publicly because he wouldn't mind me saying it, but like they had a policy at one time of chain migration. If you had any relative in the United States, you could just come in because I got a relative there. They called it chain migration. Yeah, that's how my professor, Dr. Joe Hall, that's how he got in.
Is that just for Indians only, or
nope? So that was a policy for like it was like a universal policy. You have people like I got a bunch of people who I went to college with. Some of the people who went to my church. They're from the Congo.
Yeah,
and like a lot of them. Especially like at Fresno Pacific, where I did 2 of my undergrad degrees there. There was a lot of people who were from Africa and stuff over there. And they got here by chain migration. They had one relative who got in on a visa some kind of way, and then other people came in. So I think there's multiple channels, but when you think about too something that was devastating, like the drug epidemic thing, right? When you just have an open border, you can't control who or what comes in. Like we've caught terrorists at the border.
Yeah.
And those are just the ones we caught. Who else came in?
Yeah.
So when stuff like that happens, and like when you look at the border now, which is why this ain't centered primarily around Mexicans or anything. We look at the border now, like I see, got over 30 countries. The majority of the people, I posted pictures like 3 months ago, at the border in Mexico. Most of the people standing there were Chinese.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about them coming through.
Yeah. So I mean, so to me, I don't really care who it is,
Yeah,
but
this isn't specified to Mexican people. It's more than just Mexico, and I'm sure like Florida deals with the West Indies.
Yeah.
The East Coast or the Northern probably deals with Canadians.
Yeah. So, see, and that was one of the things too. So during the Obama administration, he ended the wet foot, dry foot policy. Wet foot, dry foot was basically, so we've had presidential doctrines, right? And so these like fundamental beliefs, the majority of them have been an opposition to communism and socialism, basically Marxism and stuff anywhere they think is a threat to democracy. Necessarily, I think it is. And those ideas basically being ones where countries think that we need to have nationalized sort of control of industries, and there's no such thing as private property, basically, and everybody owns everything all together. Those policies usually cripple the economies of the nations. So we've had all of these different doctrines against communism, and so there's usually been a policy, because again, we're usually very friendly to immigrants, where you basically have, if you come from one of these communist or socialist countries, even if you sneak in, as long as you make it on U.S. land, U.S. territory, you in. So like we got a lot of Cubans and stuff coming that. You got a lot of them stuff that coming that way. My younger brother, his dad came from socialist Romania.
So with those people, say they did come through that way, would those people be in limbo now?
So Obama ended that policy, and so with the end of that policy, basically, lots of them, they get counted as just illegal stuff like everybody else. Because it used to be, as soon as you came in, you were good. You came from Cuba over there, you good. And so he ended that policy. But yes, so they're in like the same sort of limbo with everybody else now with the illegal immigrants. But like I said, I think my thing is, you do have to concern yourself with safety. And I think anyone who's like not concerned with with who's coming in, that's crazy. So let me give you another bad example. Terrible thing happened. One of the things I've done is I've managed group homes. Managing a group home one time, right? And we got a kid who comes in, and I was senior facility manager at the group home. And so when they come in, we got to check their stuff. We go through their bags, stuff like that. We inventory everything that they got, make sure nobody's stealing their stuff, and then they sign their stuff. I remember going through one of the kids' stuff, and we go through. He was someone who was picked up at the border. Mm-hmm. Said he was a minor. We go through his stuff. I find a bunch of checks. Well, he's been in and out of this country apparently, and he's been working. He's been working in the construction industry. He was a roofer or something.
Yeah.
But he got these checks, and these checks say he's in his 20s.
but he's supposed to be a minor.
Yeah, but he's in a minor group home.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that happens like a lot. So, one of the things,
like their information isn't accurate.
Yeah, the information not accurate. So you don't know who or what. So you have people who come across, and they'll have a kid with them, and they'll say, "Well, this is my son." How do we know that? Think of other situations. How do we know that somebody just didn't flee the country with their kid? How you know somebody didn't take, the baby mama, they might have baby mama issues over in Venezuela and China, whatever it is, and they show up over here with a kid, and we just aided these people stealing a kid, from the other parent. Yeah. So it's just stuff that we don't know. So even if you believe, okay, we should allow more people stuff to come in, that's cool. The question is should we know anything about the people? That's one question. The other thing is, should we be concerned about the effects on the people here in this country already? Mm-hmm. And if you say no to either one of those questions, I just think you're crazy.
Yeah. So, but do you get Mexican people's outrage though? Just the people themselves?
Mexican people here? No, I don't get the outrage. I get the perspective. I get the reason why, and there's a long historical reason why that goes back to the Clinton era with NAFTA, North American Free Trade Agreement. NAFTA did a lot to destroy the Mexican economy because it allowed for factory farms to go into Mexico where they don't have to pay the sort of taxes that they have to do here. It allowed TV manufacturers like that to go in, but largely the farming industry, where you had a bunch of small mom and pop farms that were out there, they were wiped out under NAFTA.
Yeah.
So that's a fact. It's indisputable. It's a fact. So I can understand and sympathize with the person who desires something better for their kids. Again, if you are trying to make a better way for your kids, kind of like you said, hey, it's against the law and stuff like that. I just don't think, you can't just say, well, the consequences shouldn't matter because I did it for a good reason. That's not just morally, philosophically, and just logically, that don't make any sense. But a lot of that stuff, though, is the fault of Mexico. Now, their government agreed to that. You had all of North America. That was Canada. That was the United States of America, and that was Mexico. They agreed to that trade agreement.
Yeah.
Mexico knew that was going to be as devastating. They got competent people on that side. They're not incompetent people over in Mexico, so they knew that. So we destroyed their farming industry. So a lot of the small mom and pop farms, they were just destroyed. Like the cartel runs the avocado industry in Mexico.
Yeah.
The cartel does. So you buy an avocado, oftentimes you're getting it from some cartel group, especially if they came from Mexico. So I sympathize with that stuff that's going on. I think that the solution, though, isn't to tank this country. The solution, though, is to do something in that particular country.
Yeah.
To make some sort of changes there. I think, that something that the U.S. can aid with. I think, that's something that, that Mexico needs to do. But Mexico, from a political science standard, Mexico is a weak or even a failed state, which basically means they fail one of these like major criteria. One of them is sovereignty over your area. If you don't got control over your area, you're not really a sovereign state. So they're a weak state because the cartel acts as the government in large areas.
Yeah.
I mean, we see the videos. They mowing down a Mexican military, mowing down the police in different places. So you got lots of corruption and stuff that's going on there. So I truly do sympathize with them wanting a better life. I just am not of the opinion that you should bring me down in order to get that. Yeah. It's like if you're trying to save yourself from drowning, that's cool. Should you grab me and pull me down? I don't think I don't think it worked that way. So I think that there's other solutions, and and I didn't get into the stuff in the videos, but there's all sorts of other solutions and stuff that I think that are out there, viable solutions for fixing Mexico. But the ones here, so I driving through River Park, and there's Mexican flags everywhere. Waving a flag of a country you don't want to be in is crazy, and burning the American flag at the same time is crazy. So this stuff I'm seeing locally. I'm in River Park.
Yeah.
So if it's the case that Mexico is so awesome, well then I'm confused. Now, if you're saying, hey, I'm standing with the Mexicans, I still got some issues there. So one, you can support the Mexicans, but you can support the Mexican population. And again, this ain't about Mexicans, but just the protests and stuff that I saw. So what's up with the flag though?
I think it's more just a symbol,
a solidarity sort of thing.
Yeah, it's a pride thing. It's the root. It's the root. It's kind of like us with Africa.
Yeah,
like most people probably don't want to go to Africa, but we're gonna in some way have red, black, and green.
Yeah, but
we're gonna wave that flag.
See, not me, but I'm gonna tell you why. So, there's a such thing as republicanism, not the Republican Party, but I want to make sure so the audience follow along. So, Black Americans, we have a unique identity. We have a unique identity here. Majority of our ancestors were not Pan-Africans.
Mm-hmm.
There was no pride that they were taking in Africa.
Yeah.
Like you read like Lemuel Haynes, right? Lemuel Haynes, dope figure. He was around pre-revolution and he was around right after the American Revolutionary War. Black dude.
That's more like a Marcus Garvey thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So like Frederick Douglass had a completely different view. Frederick Douglass, and like I said, because with our people, we built this.
Yeah.
Listen, I was, again, for numerous reasons, but I was sold from over there. I wasn't kidnapped. I was stolen. I was kidnapped by the local people, but I was sold.
I'm a POW.
Yeah. So then I came here. But when we came here, and then I built this. We fought in the American Revolutionary War. The first recorded death, the first recognized death in the American Revolutionary War, Crispus Attucks. It's a black dude.
Yeah.
And the normal depictions, he's getting speared through the neck. So this is the country that I built. And so our ancestors, most of them, wanted things about this particular country. It's been a recent trend where you got people who want to be Pan-Africans. They want to talk about Africa stuff, but we have a unique identity and a history and a culture and stuff like that that's here, that comes from here. So like Lemuel Haynes was somebody who was, there's an academic paper, I think it's called Black Puritan, Black Republican. But because his ideas were, again, that's why he fought the American Revolutionary War. This is why we were fighting in that, we looked forward to that same hope and freedom. So we were trying to build this country. So I think, if you want to come here and you want to be American, or you want the American dream for people, I don't understand the burning the American flag. I don't understand the disrespect towards America. I don't understand the waving of the Mexican flag. If your focus is getting people here, like I said, I think that there's numerous ways to do so. I think legally, I think that you can even make some changes to, to the immigration system stuff here, to get more people. I think that you can fix, it's going to take some time, but I think you can fix some of the issues with Mexico that are fueling the sort of, the desire to come here. I think, that NAFTA was a policy that was really, really harmful for lots of the Mexican people. But I just think, again, if this is where you want to be, what you disrespect, you can't be from the set and disrespect the set.
Go back to your country.
Yeah. So so that's the part.
I mean, I get it. I get it though. Because it's just, it's a rebel. It's cool to be a rebel. It's cool to go against the government. That's something that's always cool. It's kind of like the law. It's like
that's another reason why black folks are lean conservative.
When we reverse it back to things we more so can relate to.
Yeah.
Like people going to jail and us being, fuck the police and all this kind of stuff, and me seeing something like the black flag with the blue in it, the blue lives matter, and what that
right.
does to some people.
Yeah.
But then when something happens, we expect the police to come to our aid.
Right.
A lot of times. Sometimes people don't even really want to call the cops. So we say, fuck the police, but without them, it'll probably be a tirade of crime. So
absolutely.
we need in some type of order. We may not like some of the things that they've done or whatever, you have your opinions, but you're gonna need some order. So it's always cool to be a rebel. And another thing you said, like we're fine with you seeking a better life, but not drowning us in order for you to get that better life.
Yeah, right.
But that's like the more you make, the more you take theory. Like the more the more you,
and it's a zero-sum game. Yeah,
it's almost gonna happen. Like someone feels not to say it like this, but someone's gonna have to lose.
Yeah.
So, do you want to be the loser, or do you want to like?
Yeah, and that's what it says. So in those cases, I'm going for the home team.
Yeah.
So and that's what a zero-sum game is, because like I said, when and that's a mathematic thing. It's a finite. There's not an endless amount of jobs. It's not an endless amount of houses, not an endless amount of food. Like, listen, if there's more people buying eggs, especially with an egg shortage, with bird flu and stuff like that, eggs get more expensive. So what I'm saying is I'm for the home team. I represent niggas.
Yeah.
I represent black folks, right?
Real shit. So dig that.
Listen, and not just niggas, but I represent black folks too. So, but that's what I represent. So I'm just saying, that there are real world consequences for us. And by the way, too, like when you talk about with the police thing, that's another thing that conservatism, and it's getting real messed up too, because lately, like I said, when I talk about autonomous conservatism, you have some that are reactionary conservatives, but black folks would find a real home in conservatism, because conservatives are the people who are skeptical of government.
Yeah.
Those are supposed to be the people who say, hey, I believe we should limit your power because y'all tend to do crazy stuff when y'all get too much of it. So like, niggas, we don't be trusting organized medicine and stuff like that, and police and government. So we typically think, oh, they lying.
Yeah.
And so, so that's, you could find a home in conservatism.
Conspiracies.
Yeah. So those are sort of things like, because we just think, hey, y'all up to no good. So.
Yeah. So overall, man, I sympathize with the Mexicans, man. I love the Mexican people, love Latino women. Love my Mexican homies.
That boy said Latino women.
Love them. I love black women the most, though. Absolutely. Make no mistakes. But, like I said, it's hard for me in any circumstance to feel the pain of others if I'm not directly affected. And if I'm uneducated on something, then I'm definitely probably going to take a step back and hope the best. When I hear the stories about kids not wanting to go to school because they're afraid to come home and their father's being gone. Like that type of stuff. I got a soft spot for that type of stuff. But I also, it's admirable to come here in search of a better life. That's I'm with that, but, law is law. Unfortunately, you have to obey the law. I know a thing or two, not myself personally, I know a thing or two about people getting locked up and separated from their families because they didn't obey the law. So I can relate. And you passed the assignment. I knew you would. I made it easy for you. It was pretty much laid out for you. My boy Dre passed the assignment. If you're offended by this, I apologize, but I think he's pretty smart. He's going to stand on his words. He does this almost for leisure, and he has stats to back your claims. And if you want to have this debate with him, you will know how to find him, because we're gonna link you to his social medias. But
we could definitely debate it. I'm open to it. So.
Again, I thought it was interesting. I thought your angle was interesting, and that's what made me want to bring this topic up. That yes, legal activity can separate you from your family. So let's move on to the accountability stage now. So since we're on to politics, well, first let me explain to you what the accountability is. It's a internal and an external exchange. It's something I'm gonna give myself something to be accountable for the people, the watchers to hold me accountable for. Then I'm gonna give Dre something. Then he gives himself something he wants to be held accountable for. Then he gives me something. So I'm gonna start it out. And since we're on to politics, and like I said, I'm really not knowledgeable in politics. And some people have told me, like, you should start in your own backyard. So I think I'm in District 3. Well, I am in District 3. And District 3 is ran by Miguel Arias, and he covers a lot of places that I spend money in, that I make money in, and where I live. That's West Fresno. That's the Easton area, I believe. That's the Tower District, and that's like the Central Unified area. So I want to get more familiar with Miguel. I heard about Miguel through his things he's did, where they basically axed Art Hop. And he was the guy who was speaking on behalf of that. And I really didn't appreciate that. And I think I damn near want to meet you or just learn about you. I did a little research on him, and he's from Mendota. He's worked in Washington, D.C. in politics. He's been in politics a long time. He went to Fresno State. He's an educated man, capable of the job. So what I want the people to hold me accountable for is learning more about Miguel Arias, maybe even trying to go meet him, maybe go to a council meeting or something like that, and hear him speak, just to see what he's about. Like, hold me accountable for learning more about my backyard before I dig into national issues. Let me learn a little bit about Fresno, more specifically West Side Fresno. And what I want to hold you accountable for is you said that you've gotten banned on Facebook plenty of times. You have restrictions. And maybe we can see why, with your strong opinions. Some things are very, very sensitive. And I'm sure we're going to get some backlash for some of these topics. I'm prepared for them. I'm sure you're prepared for them. They've come your way for years now. I want you to take those opinions and those words and those stats and to continue to push them further. I'm not going to tell you everything you told me as far as like some of the opportunities you've had in this space, but to continue your journey there. I mean, again, I don't know anything about politics, but you intrigued me to listen, because it's like humor, you have some humor, you have the characteristics to intrigue people who aren't normally interested in the topic, and maybe they can learn. Our people, and you're from my backyard, so I want you to get those restrictions, those Facebook restrictions off. And what is it? Political blowout?
Political blackout.
Oh, political blackout. Political blackout is his organization, his group, and they, do their thing in that space. And I want you to, once those restrictions are lifted, go full force in that, man. And we'll keep track of you on that journey. So, what you got, man? What's something you want to hold yourself accountable for?
Let me see. I want to learn to be more personable. I'm largely, so I mean, sometimes I'm outplaced and stuff, and I'm actually usually pretty reserved. So one of the things that I thought about when we were talking about this segment was I want to try to be a little more extroverted, just to talk with people more. I tend to a little more of a hermit, to think about things in the abstract, to spend just more time sort of by myself, and so I want to learn to be more personable, to connect with people more often than I do now.
Usually you be in the cut, standing tall with your drink, really not saying too much, which is sometimes in the places we frequent isn't a bad idea.
Yeah.
Maybe some of those people you probably don't need to be talking to.
Yeah.
Nothing against these people, but
yeah,
because in reverse on that, I wanted to kind of not talk so much. I mean, I'm quiet anyway, but as I've started to put myself back out there more with podcasting and stuff like that, like I've become approachable. but I want to kind of like not necessarily not talk to people when I'm in public, but maybe not go into public as much, you know, so I don't have to engage as much, you know, because sometimes you get caught up in people's bullshit.
Yeah.
So I mean, but for you, there's some great people in Fresno though.
Yeah.
Honestly, like a lot of people you probably would have no idea. Like when we talked, I had no idea I knew you had a following in the political space, but I didn't know you had as much as you actually do. And that comes from engaging, knowing that. So it is sometimes good to engage because you never know, you know. And often we underestimate our people in Fresno. We always think like, oh yeah, them Fresno niggas ain't about nothing. Yeah, but we actually got some highly qualified people in the city. Even if you see them out and about enjoying themselves, don't think less of them. So yeah. We're gonna hold you accountable to that. And so the people at the Rose, at Cocky's, those are two places I see that you frequent. Hey man, you see Dre out, say what's up, man. Say what's up to him. If he don't say what's up, y'all say what's up. You know, say, hey Dre, man, I seen you on The Great Expression. You said you want to be more personable. What's up, man? So what's something you want to hold me accountable for?
So what I would like you to do is I want you to regularly, I think maybe 3 books a year that are on topics that you're unfamiliar with. So,
I like that.
Yeah, just mental topics, but do some reading on them. If you ever need some suggestions, I got some stuff for you. But yeah, I want you to read, and I got the idea from one of my professors, just real quick. Shout out to Dr. Pam Johnson at FPU, but she's a part of this little organization where it's a bunch of people, and they're experts in all these different fields, but to get together and they pick one thing that they know nothing about and they have to research that thing and they come present on that thing. But so my challenge to you is just expand your horizons.
Yeah,
get familiar with with some of these topics that you know less about, and just I think for me, I think it just makes you, like with me, I think I have a better picture of the world. So like as opposed to seeing it in parts, I have more of a full view. Just the more topics and stuff like that I become familiar with. So that's my challenge to you. To get more familiar.
So 3 books a year on topics I know nothing about.
Yep.
Okay, I got a lot of reading to do.
Yeah.
I got a whole lot of reading to do because I told Wu Stacks I'm gonna read his 2 books. Could those count? Because I don't know.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I know some about credit, but not too much.
Yeah, no, because his is it's the 800. I mean, what's his
the 800 blueprint?
Yeah, the 800 blueprint. Yeah.
Plastic Millionaire.
Yeah.
But that's all just one topic.
Yeah.
So that's gonna count as just one.
Yeah. Yep. So that's one.
So
topic.
I gotta find 2 other books
two other
on
topics.
something. I'll probably start with politics then. Since I'm gonna take a suggestion from you and I'm gonna look. Maybe I've been wanting to dig deeper into religion without choosing a religion.
Mm-hmm.
I asked a friend of mine, she's strong in her faith, and I asked her, like, is it okay for me to frequently visit a Christian church without being Christian? And she was like, why do you want to do that? Why do you want to go to Christian church if you don't want to be Christian? It's like, because I want to hear the good word. It's a good word. It's motivation. It's good stuff in here. I don't have to be a part of the religion to appreciate the word. So I think I'm gonna find some religious. Maybe I should read the Bible. I have my grandma's Bible, rest in peace, and it's pretty thick. It's intimidating. But I'm thinking I'm gonna dig into that. I'm gonna let you give me a book. I'm gonna dig into my grandmother's Bible, and I'm gonna read the Wu Stacks books. So those are okay. I like that because I read here and there, but I probably should read more. Yeah, I should read more. So
yeah, you're definitely an intellectual. So I think just even as you downplay how much you know about just different topics and stuff, you're definitely an intellectual. That's obvious. So I think it would just only expand your horizons. I think just when you read about just different stuff, and I try to be read on a variety of topics, but like everything from class that I took on theater appreciation. They change the way that I watch movies, just because of certain things. So I think I think it helps you have a better appreciation for the world around you.
Right. Okay. So I accept it. I accept that. I do need to read more. So what book would you have? That's a suggestion. I seen actually when I Googled political blackout. Political blackout, and I Googled. There was something else at the end of your video.
Yeah, it was. So I just started a YouTube page, but it's I just made my little logo and stuff. But it's called Notes from the Underground.
Yeah, and that's a book, right?
Yeah,
there's a book called that.
Yep. So it's a book. It's because one of my degrees is in philosophy.
Yeah.
He's a philosopher, Fyodor Dostoevsky, and his situation when I read the book from the perspective from which he's writing it, it reminded me of a lot of ways of of myself. And so anyway, I resonated with it real heavily. So yeah, but that's Notes from the Underground, Fyodor Dostoevsky.
Okay, that's the book I'm gonna read.
Yep.
How many pages?
So that it's not a very good book. Not a very big book. It's I don't know. It's maybe 100 and some pages.
Okay, that's perfect. Yeah, because that Bible's intimidating, boy.
Yeah. See, and that one. So it's a really good book because like that's one you read in he's an existentialist philosopher, which black folks. Oh man, like if you start reading existentialism, there's a whole tradition called Black existentialism, and basically
And is he black?
No, he's not black. He's Russian, but yeah, he's Russian, but it's just a really, really dope book. But he has a lot of writings up, but he's considered an existentialist philosopher. His philosophy comes across in literature, so it's a work of literature, but it's just real dope philosophy. It really gets into things about the human condition and stuff. So I named it that Notes from the Underground after that. So the YouTube is at Notes TFU, Notes with an S TFU, Notes from the Underground.
I like the name. That's a dope name. I Googled because I was looking for the channel. I was like, what is this attached to? I want to see more. And the book just like that's kind of tough though. Like when you marketing wise, because when people look it up, that's what's gonna pop up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So and same thing like with political blackout. Like we even though I mean like there's a couple things, but mostly and that's just the nature of index searches because they're just gonna pay for their stuff to like sort of cascade in that way. But yeah, I hoping that like I said, and I'll just have a few videos up. Like I have one about Lemuel Haynes. I have one about Michael, the Ethiopian deacon, who was one of the influences on the Protestant Reformation. So it's not many videos up, and I had to put.
So this is active YouTube channel.
Yeah. So I there's probably only like 4 videos on it because the video stuff that I've put up, they've been to satisfy certain requirements for the history degree.
Oh, okay.
So you have to.
So this was like homework.
Yeah. So the little video stuff that I put up, the only one that wasn't homework was the one I did on the immigration thing.
Okay, dope. That's the man. Double dipping, like we talked about, double dipping, repurposing content. Okay,
Yeah.
Okay. So homework. We're gonna give out gold bricks now, y'all. It's time to give out the gold bricks.
Then you better go out there and do some real shit. So dig that.
And my boy Dre has done plenty of real shit. He's like he said, you're working on your 5th degree, your 2nd master's, West Side, Fresno, California. An impoverished area. That's what people say. I don't know. Is it what you consider it?
Oh yeah, it's definitely impoverished area.
Impoverished area.
Crack baby.
Not many opportunities. My grandma used to always go to the council meetings and advocate for West Fresno. We had next to nothing. I remember when Food Max wasn't there, when it was C Street Market. We're starting to get, I think we got a grocery outlet popping up.
I think they talk about putting
it's no longer the black side of town, which I've come to grips with, and I still represent it, and I still want to see better. I'm glad we have a campus now. We have a what they call it, a satellite campus for Fresno City College. That's beautiful. I used to get angry with, Louis Keys, going out of business and all of that. But you're from this area. You're very educated. You're part of the West Side Scholar Division, active member. And I want to give you your gold bricks for even accomplishing that with all that you've been through. I don't know if you've lived a good amount of time on Poppy and Grove, but anybody who knows about those cross streets are a really treacherous area. I went to school with a lot of people from over there. I'm actually from the other side of the neighborhood. And generally when people think of the West Side and they think of areas like Poppy and Grove, they think that, they almost minimize you and think you're probably like a certain type of way. And that's even why I named myself West Side JJ, to give the West Side a positive representation. And that's my whole thing. And Dre is definitely a positive representation of West Side Fresno. And I'm going to give you your gold bricks. Shout outs to my boy.
You don't get it. You don't get it. You don't get it.
Yeah. And that's pretty much how we gonna end it. Again, support should be earned, just like respect. So if you like what you saw, tap that button that matches that emotion. If you want to spin the block, subscribe. The channel is Westside JJ. This is the Great Expression installment 2 with my co-host Dre, and you will be back, right? The idea of this show is to have reoccurring co-hosts because we don't have guests. And, you're one of the people, when I thought of this show, I knew you were going to be a guest. Absolutely. I was like, and I know he's down. He does his own content. So I'm not really worried about if he wants to be on or not. I was pretty sure that he will be game, and he'll be back. Hopefully you don't let any information that was delivered in this particular installment hurt you or offend you. You know, it says statistics that backs his claims. And if it does offend you, you got to take it up with Dre. So shout outs to y'all if y'all made it this far. Shout outs to my boy Dre. This is the great installment. The Great Expression installment 2, and we out of here.
I'm too saucy for that.
Will you handle that, please?
But you don't get it.
The girl didn't